Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you 5 simple tips to get you sub 5 on 3 blind using old Pochmann. So getting straight into it with tip number 5, I'm going to be talking about why you should memorize corners first and edges second, then execute edges first and corners second. So why you should do this is because there are only 8 corners and there are 12 edges. So by memorizing your corners first means that you've got less to memorize going into edges. So what you should do is memorize your corners, get it stored into your head, memorize your edges, and then instantly do your edges, and then go back to the corners which is stored in your head and execute that. So it means that the 12 edges you don't have to put as much thought into, and yeah, it's just a lot faster and a lot better. Tip number 4 is getting a really strong corner memo. What happens a lot to me is I try and memo corners as fast as I possibly can, and then I go onto edges and memorize it, and then put on my blindfold and execute edges, and then go back to corners and I've forgotten it. So the key is taking enough time that you can memorize it, but also not taking too much time. So if you're going for sub 5, you can probably give yourself about a minute, possibly even more than that. I average around 30 seconds for corner memo. But yeah, if you're going for sub 5, you can give yourself about a minute to memorize, so that could be a thing. And make sure once you've memorized it, go over it once, just so it's really stuck in your brain. Tip number 3 is having no pauses between each piece. So what I mean by this is, let's say you've got R here, and then an L here, then a C here. So in your memo, you've got the blindfold on and you're thinking, what do I have? Alright, I've got an R. So you do R, and then you have a pause and think what you've got next, and you're like, alright, I've got an L. But what you want to be doing is seeing you've got an L, and then when you do the L, you think what you've got next, and you realise it's a C. Then you do the C. And so on. This works for corners and edges. It's pretty much, I like to think of it as the blind look ahead. So it's like thinking ahead about what you're going to do next. And following along from that, at tip number 2, is turning as fast as possible. So why would you not do this is the question. I see lots of people doing blind and they're doing a nice leisurely pace solve, just keeping everything nice and controlled and in line and making sure they don't mess up anything. But if you're going for a faster time, there's no point in doing this. It's not going to affect anything. You don't have to look ahead in blind, so it doesn't affect that. The only risk it brings is dropping the cube, but if you're a speed solve anyway, this should not have any effect on your solve. So, turning as fast as possible is key to getting fast at blind. So that's why it's tip number 2. And my final tip, tip number 1, is before executing, don't have a pause. If you think you're like, what I see lots of the time is people, they've memorized the cube and then they're like, thinking about doing it, so they go to put down the blindfold and then they pause and like, I'll just quickly check up other stuff. If you think you've memorized it, chances are you have, and just go for it. As long as you're getting the fast times and you get used to practicing, just not pausing before putting down the blindfold, your times will get better, and also your success rate will get better as you get used to just going straight into it as well. So those are all my tips. Thanks for watching. I hope the video helped. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.